Hello Channel NITT viewers, I am DS, your psychologist, and welcome to another episode on Channel NITT. If you are new to this channel, welcome. Channel NITT is a Singapore-based channel that does videos on MBTI and psychological principles. So far, we have released a lot of episodes on the MBTI, and at Channel NITT, we advocate the deduction method using cognitive functions and cognitive stacks to know a person's MBTI type instead of using the paper and pencil method. However, there is a potential problem in this method. Only a potential problem. Sometimes you might mistype a person because you are actually capturing the person during his mature years. So as anybody gets older, they might become more mature. They will have developed their first function, which is the dominant function, and the second function, which is the auxiliary function, very well. So then it is the time for this individual to start looking into his third and fourth function. So this is the time for an individual to start to invest more effort, energy and time on their third function, which is the tertiary function, and the fourth function, the inferior function. So being a mature ENTJ myself, I have been investing much more time and energy on my SE, which is my third function, and FI. So earlier in this video, I mentioned that some individuals may start to develop their third and fourth function more. So as an individual profiling, you might observe this individual using the third and fourth function more, and you might actually mistype this person. So for example, as an ENTJ, now that I'm using SE and FI more, you might actually type me as an ESFP. Similarly, an ESFP may be mistyped as an ENTJ because they may be using TE and NI more. Similarly, an INTJ may appear to be like an ISFP. This usually happens when the individual is mature and is now developing the third and fourth function. It is a deliberate, conscious attempt. So for example, now that I'm actually trying to invest more energy and time on my SE, I find myself more willing to go out, to visit my friends, to go out for social gatherings. I used to be more of a hermit in the past.
In this segment, we're going to look at the card of the hermit.
So my starting this YouTube channel is also a manifestation of my SE. However, it is heavily mediated by TE. You can also see in many of my videos that I actually laugh a lot. I may have a lot of childlike characteristics. This is because I am getting more comfortable with my SE, and this is also why some viewers actually argue that I am not an ENTJ. I hope I've explained why this is the case, because I am developing more resources to SE. If you observe my thinking process, I am definitely an ENTJ because I lead by TE. It is very obvious. So how does an ENTJ develop FI, which is values? Now personally, I really envy the FI DOMs and even the FI auxiliary users because they seem to be really able to do whatever that they want. They stand up for their own values. For the ENTJ, we have a lot of self-restraint. We may want to voice ourselves, however, we know that we are just guests and so we're not in a position to voice ourselves. We may just keep quiet. But the INFP, ENFP and all the other FI users, they can just speak their mind. So one of the values that I really appreciate is the ability to stand up and defend your own community. So I see a lot of viewers putting into the comment section of my video telling me how I've mistyped this particular MBTI type, and they write that this MBTI type is actually a very positive one, not the one that I have painted. So I really appreciate that because you are standing for your community, which is your MBTI type. So earlier I mentioned that SE, which is something I'm trying to develop, is heavily mediated by TE and NI. So FI will be the same. a very interesting thing is, no matter how these mature individuals develop their third and fourth function, it will still be mediated and controlled by their dominant and auxiliary function to a very large extent. It won't deviate too much from the main. Maybe unless they take drugs or something like that. So what this means is that no matter how I develop my FI, I find it very hard to behave like an INFP or even an ENFP. I find it very hard to voice my opinion very freely. And there are also a lot of ways where people might choose to voice their opinion that the ENTJ will not choose. For example, a lot of people like to voice their rights and opinions through the few P's. Through the few P's. What are the few P's? Parades, protests, petitions. Well, an ENTJ is very unlikely to participate in these activities, especially petitions. So what if I sign a petition? The person that you say must step down from politics won't step down. So of course our FI is still very guided by TE. We look for efficiency. So as an ENTJ, I prefer to defend my community through actually working, showing, letting my actions speak for themselves. So for example, as I am doing this YouTube channel, I am actually standing up for a few communities. First, I am standing for ENTJs, I'm standing for psychologists, I'm also standing for the Singaporean community.
Wow, every time she always wing.
And as an ENTJ, what this means is that since I have already promised that I will release a video every other day, I will continue to do so. Why? Because I represent my community. I represent the Singaporean. So if I fail to keep to this promise and I do not release videos for like 1 or 2 months, then it reflects very poorly on the Singaporean, or the psychologist, or the ENTJ. So I am really trying to stand for my community through my own actions. So this is one way. Actually, this is one of the main ways. So using this video as an example, you can actually identify a maturing MBTI type by observing that this MBTI type is engaging more of the third and fourth function. However, even though the third and fourth function are used more, and it is actually very easy to interpret this third and fourth function thinking that they are actually the first and second function, if you think about it, they are heavily mediated by the dominant and auxiliary function. So the third and fourth function, even though they are developing, may not actually be manifestations of that cognitive function as in if they were in the first and second position. Do you understand what I'm talking about? So again, what I'm saying is that regardless of how I develop my SE and FI, I can only be slightly more outgoing, I can only be more adventurous, more willing to try new things. However, I will not behave like an ESFP. So I will not visit a friend and stay 5 to 6 hours in a friend's place. So the ENTJ will also not be found at protests, at parades, because they actually will find that this is a meaningless event. So similarly, a maturing ENTJ will also start to invest more energy on values. So this can be standing up for the community, this can be supporting different rights that he really feels attached to. However, he is going to be still very self-restrained because TE on its own has a very huge restraint on the ENTJ. I hope that you've enjoyed today's video, and if you have not subscribed, do consider subscribing so that we can continue to bring you more MBTI and psychology. Okay, I am going to sign off now and I'll see you in my next episode. Goodbye!